I'm coming to you with your daily dose of business inspiration. Topic number 221. We're going to talk about mindfulness, but I'm going to do a deep dive into a specific concept that came up while I was doing some researching. I thought it was a great concept called mindful emailing. Now, before we get started, I want to remind you all that I encourage conversation, I encourage feedback. I encourage you to challenge me if you feel that I'm saying things that are counter to what you believe. It's a mutually respectful thing. I really want to hear your thoughts because that's how I learn. That is how we all learn, is by having our own ideas challenged, and have someone come to us and say, have you thought about it this way? Because then I can go off and have a think about it. I might not agree, but at least it's another thing, it's another data point for me to consider in everything that I do. So please leave comments on these videos when you're watching them. Come across to Locals, ask charlyleetham.locals.com and join the conversation there. I will respond to you, I promise. But let's get on with today's topic, mindful emailing. Have you ever got an email in and gone, "Ugh," and hit reply and just sent a reply? Have you ever later looked at the reply you sent and went, oh dear, I wish I hadn't done that? I have. I'm sure we all have. It's a very human thing to do. It's a very easy thing to do. It's a very human thing to do for a couple of reasons. One is we're busy. We just want to get the reply out the door, and we just do it. The other one is we might be a little bit emotional, and we might want to just snap back on something, and we do. And the problem is it's not just that, we typed those words out, it's that conveying tone when you are just using words is really, really difficult. And you might use a word in one way and it might be taken in an entirely different context at the other end, and then things get worse from there. So mindful emailing to me was about, it was just, yeah, it's something that I try to practice. And I thought, what a great way of putting it, mindful emailing. It's about bringing it's about bringing intentionality and awareness to our written communication. As I said, we dash off emails left, right, and center. We don't consider their tone. We often don't consider the clarity or the potential impact they will have. Often that's because we're busy and we just want to reply. Often it is also because we don't think about the recipient and how the recipient might read it. And if you listen to episode 220, yesterday's episode, where I was talking about empathetic leadership or empathy and leadership, we don't put ourselves in the shoes of the people who are receiving those emails and think, how would that land on me? So mindful emailing is about encouraging you to pause, to reflect, and to ensure that your message is aligned with your intentions. I know it sounds really woo-woo, and I'm sorry if I'm going to lose you here because it sounds like it's like, we've got to be mindful in our communications. We do. Absolutely. It's just part of good communications. Whether it's called mindful communication or mindful emailing or something else, we need to consider all of these things. So I'm going to call it mindful emailing. You can call it whatever you want, but please don't turn off because you think it's too woo-woo. The benefits of doing these things is that you are going to reduce your miscommunication. By taking time to review your email, you're going to you should be able to catch potential misunderstandings before they occur. It will also help ensure that your message is clear and that the tone is appropriate for the context. It's going to improve your relationships. So by taking the time to be mindful when you are writing your email, you are going to foster more thoughtful and respectful communications, which can then strengthen relationships with your colleagues, clients, partners, subcontractors, suppliers. Keep the list going. You get the idea. It shows that you value the recipient and are committed to effective communication. Sounds good, doesn't it? Increased professionalism. Emails that are crafted with care and attention reflect positively on you as a leader. They demonstrate professionalism, thoughtfulness, and respect for your recipient's time and perspective. I'm actually going to take a minute here to reflect about when I was in school, which was, I don't know, 100 years ago. We were taught all these things. We were taught about taking our time to write a letter, to consider the words that we used, to consider how tone was conveyed, to be professional communicators. I feel that we have lost some of those skills with the advent of technology and how easy it is and how quick it is just to be able to bash off a reply. And I am kind of sort of sitting here going, yeah, well, this is stuff that we do because this is stuff I've been taught to do, but perhaps you haven't been taught to do it. And I'm kind of sad that you haven't, because it really does make your world so much better. Let's have a look at some practical applications that you can do when you're looking at your mindful communications or your mindful email. Pause before sending. Before hitting send, take a moment to breathe and reread your email. Consider how your recipient might perceive that message. Are the tone and content aligned with your intentions? If the email is sensitive, consider stepping away for a moment and returning to it with fresh eyes. Okay, let me just go through that one. That's a massive one. I actually have the concept of when I write something, I put it in the top drawer and walk away. And then later I will come back and look at it. It does slow down the communications a little. It might take a couple of hours for me to get back and respond on something. But if it's something that I'm emotional about or I'm upset about or I have a really a big personal ownership in, I like to step back and just take my time on it and make sure that I'm not allowing my emotions, my personal feelings to affect what I'm saying on the paper. So pause before sending is a really, really important one. The other thing that I want to sort of highlight there is get someone else to proofread it. Get an independent party to proofread it. Honestly, my best friend is not a business person, but they are a really, really good communicator. And there are times that I will send them something and say, how does that read to you? And they'll come back and say, try this. And they'll give me sections of my text and they will rewrite it just to change the feeling on it, just to change the way that it's landing. And it is better. And they'll also then come back to me and say, well, what kind of, were you trying to upset me with this, or were you trying to smooth things over? Because at the moment, that's upsetting. I'm like, no, I wasn't trying to do that at all. I was really trying to smooth things over. So I then get an independent third party to read it. It's actually quite a handy thing to do. If it's not my best friend, because no, you can't be sending them all your emails to proofread. Have a business buddy that can do that. I certainly do it with Gail as well. When I need something, when I write something, Gail, I often go to Gail and say, how does this read to you? How does this land on you? And she'll come to me and say, I need to get this email out, but I just want it checked. What do you think? So pause before sending. Clarity and tone. Ensure that your message is clear, concise, and free of ambiguity. I know that sounds silly, but I have received, and I know, I think that I am a communications partner's worst nightmare, because they will say something to me and I will go back and say, did you mean this? Because I can read that sentence in 4 or 5 different ways, and I need to know which way you meant it before I respond, before I even start to give you an answer. So clarity and tone is really important, and making sure your communication, your email is free of ambiguity. Be mindful of the tone. Does it convey respect, collaboration, or urgency as intended? If you're giving feedback or addressing a sensitive issue, consider how your words might be received. I Yeah, these next 2 points, I'm just gonna say there's an exclamation point meme that I've seen, which I'll cover at the end just to give it a bit of a highlight. It's something that makes me smile and makes me sad at the same time. So, clarity and tone. Make sure that your message is clear and concise and it's free of ambiguity. Mindful formatting. Pay attention to the structure of your email. Use bullet points or short paragraphs to make your message easier to digest. If appropriate, start with a positive comment or gratitude before diving into the main content. Really, that's actually a really interesting point. I don't know how many times I get an email. It's hi Charly, blah, and it's like, whoa, hit me hard. Hey Charly, how's it going? I'm hoping that you can help me with this thing. Blah. Eases me into it. I'm ready to get hit in the face with it. And it's just nice. It's just not, I'm really busy and I can't be bothered to be nice to you about it. About this, I just need to get this done, versus I'm going to take a few seconds just to add a little bit of nicety into our communications. Really important. I love the idea of using bullet points and short paragraphs. Don't give me pages of text to read and expect me to read it and fully understand it and digest it and take from it the same understanding and context that you got. If there are things that you need me to take out of something, I need them spelt out. I need to know out of all of that text, what are the important things that I'm focusing on? Because I will guarantee you, because of the way I think, because of the work that I do, I will pick up different things to you will. And then it's really hard to bring us back to that common understanding. It takes a bit to get us back to that common understanding. So, yeah, I actually kind of also would recommend, a bit of an exec summary at the top. Hi, Charly. I'm going to give you some more context, but I would like to know your opinion on X, Y, and Z. I'm looking at it for this. Okay, so now you've given me what it is I'm going to be looking at, what it is that you want me to look at in that email. 1 or 2 quick lines, maybe it's a couple of dot points, and then into the body of it. Bullet points, I think, are really special, are really, and very important. They summarize things very easily, and it gives you it's easy to not skim it, but scan it and say, yes, 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 yes. And if I need to get more information, I can either come back and ask you, or I can go and look at any reference documents that you've put in or any text down the bottom that you've added. Really important. In terms of start with a positive comment or gratitude, I'm going to recommend that you look at the video that I did with Stephen Morris, and I did one recently, I can't remember which number or when it was, about how to give constructive feedback to your team, and how sometimes starting with that positive comment is not necessarily the best thing to do. Now, I'm not saying don't say, hey, how you doing? What I'm saying is hey, I think you're doing a great job, but, and if you go back to those videos, they will explain what I just meant there. Okay, so let's look at an example. I've given you a few examples as I've gone along, but let's have a look at a really good example here about how you might use mindful emailing. I do love that term. Suppose you're drafting an email to a team member about a missed deadline. Instead of quickly pointing out the mistake, you take a moment to breathe and consider the best way to communicate. You start the email by acknowledging their hard work, then address the missed deadline. I'm going to come to that, with a focus on finding solutions rather than assigning blame. I love that. The result is an email that encourages the collaboration and problem solving rather than creating defensiveness. So, rather than starting it by acknowledging their hard work, this actually is something that Stephen Morris pointed out, is that if you sandwich negative feedback that needs to be given about poor performance, in between positive feedback, so many people ignore the negative feedback and say, yes, but you said I was good. That's what they take from it. So it's really important that when you get into these types of communications, that there can't be any misconstruing of your message. So rather than acknowledging that hard work, but you might say, "Hi, Gail. Sorry, Gail. I know, Gail, you're wonderful, honestly, but you're such a good example for me to use. Hi, Gail. I'm just writing about this project. Uh, we've all been working really hard on it. I note that this deadline was missed, and I'd like to address that with you." There's nothing bad about it. You're not saying anything's you're not blaming anyone, you're not assigning any blame, and you are asking them to be part of the problem solving by doing it. Now, maybe I would word that differently if I took a little bit longer at it, but that will give you an idea of how you might word that in. So I just want you to take a little bit of consideration about acknowledging hard work and the positive comments that you give at the beginning of it. But it does absolutely encourage collaboration, problem solving, rather than creating defensiveness, which I think is a good thing. So why is it important? Mindful emailing, again, just going to summarize everything I said at the top, is about bringing intentionality and presence into daily business practices. You can create a work environment that is more thoughtful, creative, and aligned with your values as a leader. It all sounds really woo-woo, doesn't it? And there's a lot of jargon in there and wishy-washy. It's not. I feel that it comes across probably slightly more woo-woo and lighter because I'm a woman delivering it, and I tend to go that way. We women tend to go that way, but uh, I think men can take a lot out of this too if you don't want it to be quite so butterflies and candy canes and fairy floss. Maybe you can use some other words there, but it is about creating a work environment that is creative, thoughtful, and aligned with your values as a leader. By integrating mindfulness into everyday activities, you not only enhance your effectiveness, but you foster a culture of mindfulness within your organization. And that in itself is a fantastic thing. It leads to better communication, stronger relationships, and more resilient and innovative teams. What do you guys think? Is it too woo-woo for you? Is it too fairy floss and butterflies and little fairies flying around? Or can you see the practical applications, the practical applications for it, the practicality behind it? Certainly something that I try. As I said, I really try to take that step back, take a deep breath, write out something, walk away, and then come back and read it. I don't always succeed in it. As I keep saying, I'm learning, I'm growing as a leader. Been doing this for years, and I'm still growing as a leader. I would love your thoughts. I would love constructive comments. I would love constructive uh, discussions on it. Please leave comments wherever you're watching or listening to this. Come across to Locals, askcharlyleetham.locals.com, and join the conversation there. Also, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell. We all get really busy. I put this content out every day. 8 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time every morning, 7 days a week. You may get busy and forget that I do, and then come back a couple of days and, oh, God, got to catch up on her content. If you ring that notification bell, you'll get a little notification on your phone or your tablet or maybe your computer, and you can listen to it while you're doing the dishes, driving to work, whatever works. Anyway, guys, I will see you all tomorrow for topic number 222. We're going to be talking about flexibility, and I'm not talking about exercise flexibility. See you all tomorrow, guys. Bye.